Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kara Kelly and Mr. Christoph Ma. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Laurie Pinkham and Mr. Brian McLean. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jill Rogers and Mr. Mark Woodbury. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Heidi Mitza and Mr. Ryan Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Terry Lightfoot and Mr. Matthew Finn. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jen Laugie and Mr. John Linsky. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Julianne Driscoll and Mr. David Caridio. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Laurie Volpe and Mr. David Toto. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kathy Dukeshire and Mr. Russell Allard. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Michelle Caples and Mr. James McHugh. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jackie O'Hara and Mr. Dennis Rooney. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Carolyn Parsons and Mr. Christopher Gill. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kelly LaVita and Mr. Andrew Amada. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Julie McDonald and Mr. Kyle Bishop. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Christine Robinson and Mr. Robert Lesko. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Erica Anderson and Mr. Gregory Mayella. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Carrie Ann Giannetti and Mr. Eric Engdahl. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Erica Lojak, Miss Charlene Lariviere, and Mr. Timothy O'Day. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jennifer Escher and Mr. Gregory Merriman. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jennifer McDonald and Mr. Frank Chioli. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Charlene DeStefano and Mr. Christopher Linsky. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Angela Kyra and Mr. Daniel Ballou. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Lynette Berger and Mr. Thomas Zaya. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kerry Bowlby and Mr. Stephen Greco. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Leanne McConnellock and Mr. Kevin MacArthur. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jennifer Splain and Mr. Adam Miner. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Sheila Thornton and Mr. Brian Riza. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Joy Michaud and Mr. Thomas Killalay. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Amanda Farkas and Mr. Derek Fullerton. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Paula Barrett and Mr. Thomas McNeil. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nicole Willette and Mr. Chad Downs. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Laurie Diamato and Mr. David Dussault. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Melissa Gill and Mr. Joseph Catanzano. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Tara Woodside and Mr. Rick Blizzard. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jennifer Samadas and Mr. Brendan Rogers. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Lynette Spano and Mr. David Otis. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Adrienne Fay and Mr. Richard DeLucia. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Janelle Holloway and Mr. David Godin. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Michelle Armstrong and Mr. Gregory Cardello. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Joy Clark and Mr. Robert Stockbridge. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Christine Devlin and Mr. David Ribeiro. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kristen Hall and Mr. Joseph Trevisoni. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Melanie Blake and Mr. James West. Don't put me out of business. Ladies and gentlemen, there we go. Miss Lee Ianacchino and Mr. Jay Early. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Teresa McCreary and Mr. Michael Alenado. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Ann Dulong and Mr. Randy Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Tara Landers and Mr. Christopher Adams. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Rebecca Boucher and Mr. Shane DiMaggio. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kerry Filer and Mr. Dennis Godin. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shannon Jepson and Mr. Michael Doucette. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Stacy LaCourcia and Mr. James Angiolo. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Julie Robinson and Mr. David Ellis. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jennifer Geranio and Mr. Robert Beals. And if I might take 1 second while this wonderful-looking couple stands there a second, I would like, on behalf of the Wilmington High School PAC, at this point to thank Maple Meadows Gardens, Lowell Street in Wilmington for their wonderful support with the decorations that you see in front of you. And having said that, I would like to introduce to you Miss Kim Russo and Mr. John O'Reilly. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jessica Harrison and Mr. Thomas April. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jennifer Bickford and Mr. John Martins. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Heather Scott and Mr. Michael Alpers. Thank you. And now I would like you to give a rousing show of applause to our wonderful 1993 Wilmington High School seniors.